So I have some giant in studio with me. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Kurt?
I am Kurt, and I play guitar in Some Giant.
Nice. Justin?
I'm Justin. I play bass.
You guys recently I was really fortunate enough to attend a live recording session at Roswell Rehearsal Studios. It was super fun. Really good idea. I thought that was really a unique event and really fun. And your fans that were there, like, obviously were super into the event. Like, it was nice.
A great vibe in the room. A lot of energy and
a
lot of support.
I like that. When you get that like energy kind of loop happening between the audience and the band, like that's the sweet feeling. Spot. Yeah, I like it. So you brought some of the tracks from that night.
We did. Yes.
So I know you guys did like a run through of your set, like all the songs, and then I had to leave before the second run through because children, and. So did you guys find, like, when did you, like, mix them up, or did you just, like, take them? Like, which ones, were you getting warmed up, or was it better right out of the gate? How did you find it?
Some of the songs were better during the first run, the initial run. Okay. Others we improved upon during the second run.
It's interesting, right? Like, and then the live off the floor sound, like, was it really interesting? You had, like, to listen to the complete run through of yourselves. Definitely. Like that would be I know, like, I mean, I just listened to my shows, especially when I was starting out. I would listen to my shows and be like, okay, I can improve this, I need to do that better. So learning and awesome.
And collectively at that show, and as well as our homegrown performance at Blue Martini on May 5th, there will be 10 songs included on our live album.
Awesome. And when are you guys going to have that out?
That'll be out on Monday, September 17th, which marks our 1-year anniversary as a band.
Oh my gosh, awesome.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we're going to listen to some tracks now. We're going to start with Falling Out. Is that what you guys want to start with?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Yes, he is. All right, well, I think we only got one more left. It's a quick half hour, folks. Cheers.
All right, that was Shed My Skin, Some Giant. Before that, Falling Out, which was not a live recording. I was like, oh my God, this sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's from our studio album that we recorded in Kingston at Longshot Records with Matt Bates.
Okay, I don't know Matt.
We released that as our debut single.
Very cool. Yes. Awesome. It sounded great.
Oh, thank you.
And then the second track was from Homegrown. You guys played in May down at the Blue Martini you mentioned earlier. Yep. That was such a good festival.
It really is.
Like, they really do a good job. Yep. I had a friend down that I used to work with in Quebec, up in, like, Gatineau. And I hadn't seen him for a really long time, and he was coming down for some training event he had to go to. So he's like, he had messaged me ahead of time. He was like, I'm coming down this weekend. I know you know live music. What's happening? And I was like, oh my God, it's the best weekend to be in Kingston in live music. Yeah. It's like for $10.
Yeah. And all for such a great cause.
And exactly. It's all going to Joe's Mill, and I think they made a ton of money, and I think it's great. I love that event. All right, so I was quizzing you guys on first concerts. And you gave me a couple, I said first concerts, favorite concerts, and you gave me a couple. You didn't really say which was which, though.
Stone Temple Pilots is my favorite concert.
Okay. I did not see STP.
I saw them 3 times, actually.
Oh, my God. So lucky.
The first time I saw them was at Edgefest in Toronto in 2007 or 2008.
All right.
When Scott Weiland, notoriously late often, right?
Okay, yeah.
And, yes, there was about an hour delay for them to hit the stage, and it was starting to turn kind of ugly.
Yeah, like the audience people were getting nasty,
getting very upset.
Okay.
And they just all came out on stage together and busted into Silver Gun Superman off their album Purple, and all was forgiven. The audience just
seriously
loved it, just ate it up, and it was one of the best performances I've ever seen.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love it. I have goosebumps. All right, so we're going to listen to that track, and then we'll come back and we'll talk to Justin about whatever the heck his favorite or first show was. All right, STP, Piece of Pie. All right, that was Piece of Pie, Stone Temple Pilots, one of Kurt's favorite concerts he's ever been to. Now we're going to hear about Justin's favorite concert he's ever been to. And I just want to remind everybody that we are in the studio in Amherst Island, Stella, Ontario. You're listening to CJAI 92.1 FM. I'm Shannon Myra, and you're listening to Tuned Up. The suspense is killing us. What's the story with Sarah McLachlan?
It was an interesting actual time. I had got into Ontario from Newfoundland not very long, and my girlfriend at the time had always been a big fan, and I'm quite a fan of easy listening and just general adult contemporary
music. Well, she has a great voice.
So it was right after her Mirror Ball album had released, and we had gotten tickets to go to Ottawa, and it was a bunch of her girlfriends. So primarily it was, I need somebody to drive us out. So we loaded up in the car, we went out and got in, took in the show, and I had never really driven a lot of the highways in Ontario when I first got here, so trying to get there was an experience. There was not a moose in sight. No, we got on the 416, and somehow or another we weren't sure if it was going to be 417 east or west. We kept traveling, managed to end up in Montreal? Rockland. Okay. Pulled into a convenience store, and we were like, where's the Corral Center? And they're like, you were way too far. Got back on the highway, managed to find it.
I have a similar story. Yeah.
So all said and done, fantastic show. Rather than focusing on the album, she took it as an opportunity to sort of celebrate the most, I guess, influential tracks that she really connected with of all the things that she's released. Awesome.
So like a best of.
Yeah. So it was a really, really cool show to sit down. I'm a sound tech by trade from my background, so to go to a concert and sit down and watch the stagemanship and the transitions and everything, music was great. The performance and the crew that were working it were even that much more of a thing for me. Yeah. But all things considered, fabulous night. She was phenomenal. Very, up close and personal. A lot of just open acoustic stuff. Not a lot of overproduction, which worked out really, really nicely. Come the end of the night, didn't really realize how far that side of the 417 we were.
In the west end of town.
Yeah, so we get back in the car and we're looking around and we're like, okay, so we're going to get back on the 417, go back to the 416, and we'll be back south. So we got on the 417 and continued west until we ended up in
Rockland again.
No, we were in the complete opposite side at that point.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
So I don't know if that was Arm Prior or something up there.
Oh, you went up the Prior.
We were way too far. It's now like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've got less than a quarter tank of gas.
You're practically in Sudbury at this point.
Yeah, it was interesting. So needless to say, we pull in and we're trying to figure out where a open gas bar was, and first thought of mine was to go hit up a Tim Hortons to see who was around, and sure enough, managed to find a cruiser that was in the parking lot who sort of gave us a guest tour to a local gas station so we could fill up and head back south. End of the night, fantastic. Always loved what she did musically, but that night was definitely a little more up close and personal.
Special view of the stars out in the wilderness of Ontario.
Yes, and a lot of lady friends that were in the car that were continuously making fun of me because I refused to stop and ask for directions, and the usual male.
There's not a lot of places once you get outside west of Ottawa to stop.
No, exactly. But we made it home safe, and it was a fantastic night.
That's a good story. All right, so let's listen to Sweet Surrender from Sarah McLachlan. Next, we're going to talk about the angsty teenager Kurt.
Yes.
Tell us about. So you picked 3 songs. I said bring in some songs you can talk about. Mm-hmm. You kind of divided it up into songs that you discovered as you grew into an adult.
Yes, I selected a song from my childhood, one from my teen years, and one from my adult life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like all of them. They're good. They're good bands. I approve. You get the Shannon stamp of approval.
Yes, I carefully selected them.
Awesome. So, your childhood, how did you get turned on to Zeppelin?
Actually, the first album I ever owned was a cassette of Led Zeppelin 2 that my dad gave me, and I listened to it front to back over and over, and wore that tape out.
That's easy, right?
And the song that always really...
So how old was that? Were you when
I would have been maybe 7 years old.
Oh my gosh, nice.
So 1990, 1991.
Yeah.
And the song...
Yeah, since you were born in 1984.
Yeah,
we know.
That's right.
We know. All right, so... Yeah, that's funny. Like cassettes. Mm-hmm. It's it was a thing for me. For me, it was vinyl. I was discovering I would like go babysitting at people's houses and go through their vinyl collection, and I discovered a lot of cool music that wasn't at my house, at my parents' house, because they were country music and.
I used to love making mixtapes when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Sharing them with my friends.
Absolutely.
Or taping things off the radio, like the top 6 at 6.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I can relate
There's
to that.
There's an art to making a good mixtape.
I agree, 100%. That was the name of my original radio show that now Dwayne hosts was Mixtape. Yeah.
I remember, yes. When I was with Fossils and Gospels, we did a performance.
You guys came out and played, yeah. That was fun. I like that. All right, so your first one is Zeppelin. Mm-hmm. Then you got into your angsty years.
Yes. Can't say I miss those years too much, but and the song I chose to represent my angst-filled teen years is Israel's Son by Silverchair.
Nice. And I like it.
When that album came out, I would have been about 10 years old, but they were... I think at the time, the members of Silverchair were 14 and 15 years old. Yeah, that's what I
remember too, that they were like a really young group. Yep. And they were like not like, they were angsty, but in an innocent way.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Yep. I thought a kind of a poppy feel even. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like them.
In my, when I turned about 13, my parents bought me a bass guitar.
Oh, wow.
And the song we'll be playing later is Israel's Son, which has a great opening bass line.
Oh my God, nice.
Yeah, one of the first things I learned on bass.
Amazing. So then you got all grown up and you came to your senses. No. These are all good.
I haven't listened to Silverchair in a long time.
And so then you, the last track you brought is British duo Wolf Alice.
Wolf Alice, yes.
Who I'm a huge fan of, by the way.
I adore that band.
Yeah,
yes.
They're great. All right. And so when did you first find out about those guys? Because they're not a popular band in North America.
Not in North America, no. It's actually Mike Brown who introduced me to them. He just mentioned, I heard this band on the radio called Wolf Alice.
He was probably listening to my radio show because I play them a lot. Very well could have been. Yes. I'll check in with Mike.
Yeah, perhaps. And so I investigated. I listened to the single that was on the radio, then downloaded the album, My Love Is Cool, and I was just completely captivated by it. Yeah,
they're great.
And this song, Giant Peach, actually inspired a song of my own that I wrote for my collaborative recording project, Another, and I sent it to Scott Maybe, whom I think...
I know Scott.
He did
He's
vocals
amazing.
for it.
I'm such a huge fan. I'm like a freaky fan, in fact.
He's super talented.
He's
a great guy, too.
I know. I'm like that guy. He's all of the music things.
And if you were to listen to this song, then listen to my song. The riff, you can tell that it's inspired by.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's listen to these tracks. So, kicking things off with the young Kurt running around the house, just letting it all go with his cassette tape of Zeppelin playing loud. All right. Here we go.
And if I say to you tomorrow.
All right, that was Giant Peach from Wolf Alice, UK band. Not getting a whole lot of attention here in North America. Check them out. Kurt and I are big fans, and probably Justin now too.
Honestly, I think I got turned on to it.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I really, really like them a lot. All right, so I have the next track lined up is In My Coma. How did you guys get? You guys did a show with them.
We did.
How did that come about?
It was a KPP Kingston Punk Productions event, and we just requested the opening slot, and Moira was kind enough to allow us to be the opener for that event. And it was actually our first show as Some Giant.
Okay.
We played 2 shows previously as a Concrete Umbrella, and I personally never liked the name.
I remember Justin telling me this story.
I never quite made friends with the name Concrete Umbrella.
Yeah.
So in those first 2 shows we played, I Sean didn't play guitar. He just sang.
Oh, okay.
So for the event, I think it was in February, where we opened for In My Coma, we decided, well, that would be the first show with Sean playing guitar, which added so much texture and layers to our music. And that was when we announced the name change to Some Giant.
Nice.
Yeah, we were pretty early into it, and we decided if we were going to focus on getting the EP done, getting the material done, we all need to be, at least on the same board of the direction and the name and what we're coming up with.
Yeah.
And I mean, we hemmed and hawed over the original Concrete umbrella, and it was funny, but trying to actually pull that together and decide, what, no, that's not the direction we wanted to go. So there was a long process of throwing names in a hat. And
I was immovable on that issue. The name was going to change.
Oh yeah, but what it was going to change to was the
well, I provided a long.
I like Some Giant.
Me too. I think it's far more marketable.
Yes.
And, I provided a long list of. I think I optioned maybe a dozen names, and even Some Giant wasn't my favorite, but I'm glad we chose that name.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice. And then, of course, because of that interaction in My Coma, we were lucky enough to have them come and headline our fundraising show this spring.
Yeah, when we did the spring event, we were looking for,
Because I should preface that
Please.
fact with Justin is our technical support. Here, he manages all the back end and the servers and our hardware stuff. So he's one of the volunteers here at the radio station. So and helped organize that event and really made that connection happen, and so helped make our a nice successful night for our country.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you for that, and thank you for now. Literally, we just had a technical issue where the live stream wasn't working, and I'm like, luckily we have tech support on site today. So Justin went and restarted a couple of things, and we're back on our mobile live stream. All right, so I'm gonna play some In My Coma now.
Absolutely.
And those guys were great. Like, I mean, they were lovely folks.
Yes.
I really enjoyed meeting them as well. They were really nice. All right, In My Coma, we're hearing A Losing Sleep. Okay, so I've got Some Giant, or at least a couple of the dudes from Some Giant, Kurt and Justin, in the studio with me tonight. We've been chatting about the fact that they have coming out on the 17th? The 17th of September, a live album. I call it an album. Is that we still refer to them as albums?
Yeah.
Like it's a collection of songs.
Exactly.
I think it's just going to be one of those words that in 300 years from now, people are going to not understand why it's called an album, but it is. All right, so the next song we're going to hear, is All My Fault.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about this song.
It's one of our more recent songs that we wrote as a band. On the 6-song EP we did, the studio album, those were all kind of riff ideas I had before the band even really started, that we kind of developed as a group,
built
as
off
a collective.
of it.
Yes.
Nice.
And this was All My Fault was a riff that Sean brought to us. Mm-hmm. And
cool.
we each kind of added our own unique signature to it, and it didn't take us long to actually develop that song. Like, we rehearsed it a couple times. We're like, yep, that's a finished, realized song. You know?
It felt good, felt right.
Yes.
That's always nice.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, well, I can't wait to hear this track. And this one was live from Roswell, this one?
That is correct.
All right. You might hear me screaming and yelling in this one. I wasn't very loud that night, I'm going to say. I was listening contently. All right, Some Giant, All My Fault. All right, that was nice. Sean's evil laugh at the end of that.
There's a few of them in that album.
So maniacal.
He was having fun, clearly, and you could definitely make out my distinct clap
Yep.
at the end as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh no, that was a really fun night, and we were just talking about some of the technical stuff about being recording live off the floor with people in the room. It surprisingly turned out like really well, because I know that after that track, I was just saying, like, I remember Sean saying that he could not hear himself at all through the monitors, so It sounded great. It sounded really good.
And there's the concern of like bleed from all the different microphones and
Yeah,
stuff. Right?
yeah, to get like kind of an echo, or I guess would it be creating feedback at that point, or it would have been just like tipping over, and we all would have ended up with bleeding ears.
A lot of that would have been, yeah. Unfortunately, when you've got a lot of open mics and you're trying to have that monitor sort of there, you don't want to record that monitor sort of sound in the room.
Yeah,
so you're trying to get as much
exactly.
of a close proximity to everything. So when you pull it back in, whoever's doing the mixing and mastering can really kind of focus on those points and then kind of create that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, having room sound is nice.
Right.
So much now is trying to be artificially creating that.
I know, and I just hate that stuff. I really appreciate the bands that are doing it, like you guys have been doing it, just live, rockin', less effects, all
it's
that
honest,
stuff.
Right?
Yeah, it's I
every
like it.
flub and mistake and it's all about the performance.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. All right, so we want to now go into Justin's 3 songs. His songs are not about his life. It's not a journey through his life.
Not so much a journey through about my life. It was more about my introduction to music and songwriting and composition, and then kind of where things fell.
Inspiration and stuff like
exactly.
that.
So, I mean, I'm originally from Newfoundland, so very much a folk storytelling influence.
Are you from Stevensville?
Stephenville, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Stephenville Crossing.
Yeah, no,
just over the hill.
I'm familiar with St. George's, and
yeah, exactly.
my mother-in-law, may she rest in peace, I love her with all my heart. She was from St. George's.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of my family are down in that area.
Okay.
But growing up and having family, playing through and everything else became a natural transition to want to get into that. This particular track that we're going to talk about here, Cat Stevens, Father and Son, was always one that I had never heard performed. So at one point in time, I was taking guitar lessons while I was in school, and because I was doing a lot of poetry writing and things to kind of work on my storytelling and songwriting, somebody had basically brought me the chord chart for Father and Son, and I had kind of made a point to not listen to Cat Stevens' version, sit down, read the lyrics, try to understand what this song is doing in this chord structure, and put my own kind of playthrough, taught myself, went through and played it, whatnot. And it was funny, I went to a local variety show at one point when we were playing at the Parish Hall, and somebody had actually played this same song earlier on, and I wasn't around at that point. So when I got up and I did it the way that I would have invented it to kind of go through. And it was funny, the father of that gentleman had came over after the fact and sort of introduced us, and he was just sort of like, that's how you should play that song.
Oh my gosh.
So I made a point after the fact of going back and listening to Cat Stevens' version of it.
Okay.
And it was very much surprising how he articulated and how he sort of presented that. And especially as a young songwriter, you're trying to come through with that. I didn't want those things to sort of jade my opinion. But very much a very strong sort of family-oriented song, and it really you
didn't want to be paint by numbers.
No,
you wanted to like kind of
exactly.
use
So
your own.
for that particular one, that was sort of my my early years of trying to get creative and think of where things would go.
All right.
So after that, we essentially
Then we have the band.
Yeah, the band. Yeah, I think probably I'd say mid to late 80s. At that point, I had been playing for a bit, and then kind of met with a couple of local guys, and we started actually playing some of the bar scenes.
Around the time Kurt was born.
Right around the time Kurt would have been born. I'm the old guy in the band, but that's okay. So at that time, we were basically 14, 15, playing in bars and playing to the typical country rock crew. And this was probably one of the first songs that we ever sat down to really focus on harmonies and presentation and where that live performance would come from.
Okay.
So that's pretty much where I kind of drew from that particular song. Again, that storytelling, but very trying to expand on those concepts.
Important. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that was interesting trying to play in bars when you were 14 or 15 years old.
It would be. Well, and I can't imagine when we listened to Silverchair. I mean, they were touring, like world touring, and they were 14, 15 years old.
At age 15, they played Saturday Night Live.
Right.
That would be terrifying.
Yeah, it would. Well, I mean, they might not, though, have understood the magnitude of that gig necessarily. It was just another late night TV show. for them. All right, so then you have got Jordan Catalano. He will forever be Jordan Catalano to me. 30 Seconds to Mars.
30 Seconds to Mars was probably one of the later pieces that I got into as a band that really surprised me. I mean, one, to be able to be an artist and express himself in so many different facets, but more importantly, to be able to take the live production and everything that goes behind what a radio, track would sound like. And I really didn't get turned on to them until they had really started to get bigger, but more in their acoustic work, because again, more of the folk storytelling. I remember, going through a YouTube video at one point where after a concert, they go out and he's basically sitting on top of the tour bus with his acoustic guitar, and there's maybe about 20-30 fans that kind of followed the back alley, and he decided to put on like another 45-minute sort of set personally to them.
Because he can't stop.
No,
that's exactly it. I mean, 100. He's just going 150.
Exactly. And talented as he is, but down to earth, rooted kind of individual that I really kind of drew into the simplicity of and the just the truth behind what he's doing. So this particular track, The Kill, really did well in its full release. But to watch him do that live in a stripped down, whether it's just him in an acoustic or him with a couple of violinists, there's been so many different variations.
Right, okay.
But that's definitely one that I started playing, and my oldest, who's 10 now, at the time, I mean, he would have been 2 or 3, swinging in the living room and whatnot, listening to me.
Yeah.
And when we later on, when he got a little bit older and he was in elementary school, they were wanting to do this, sort of talent contest, and he had asked me, would you mind coming in and playing a song for me and I can sing it? And I'm just sort of
my gosh,
we want to pump those kids up and make sure they're, following in their footsteps. But when I had asked him what song he wanted to play, and sure enough, it ended up being, The Kill by 30 Seconds to Mars. And I'm trying to explain to him
inappropriate.
A little inappropriate to be bringing to a Catholic school and playing. So,
oh my gosh. Let's pick pick the Cat Stevens song. Even.
Yeah, exactly.
He left Christianity too. I don't know. All right, so I am also a big fan of all 3 of the bands that you brought. This is really good. And we're going to kick things off with the Cat Stevens and run through these. So there we go, Father and Son. This is Justin's first foray into learning a song.
Thank you.
All right, that was Abandoned, the ballad, as Sean described it. And I like it that you guys have like a slow song. It's nice.
Yeah, and it's very effective when we perform it. Like when we hit that first chorus and it's just me on guitar and Sean's vocal, it's such a strong melody and vocal hook. It just silences the crowd. People
it takes it all down. Everybody refocuses. It's great. Good strategy. All right, so then we have the Tea Party. Is a story. I asked you guys to bring songs with stories.
Exactly. So Tea Party was probably, I think, the first concert that I went to in Kingston back when, I guess it was AJ's Hangar at the time.
Oh, yeah.
That they had played, and we'd made an effort with a group of our friends.
I just want to, knowing you, Justin,
go ahead.
I just want to say that we have to go catch the ferry.
I know. I'll try and cut this out
brevity might be important, or we'll be stuck here.
All right. No, fantastic. Got tickets, went to the show, seen the opener. It was great. We made a point of getting right down in front of the stage at that point, and then as the Tea Party were about to come on, it was just a wall of people that came. So we decided to step off. And as we went up over the stairs to try and get up, there were so many people in the bar at that time, we thought this was it. The night was ruined. We weren't going to get to see anything.
Shoot, yeah.
And I don't know if you remember the railing, but they had actually had picnic tables set up and then chairs behind that. So it was almost like an auditorium setup.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So as we get up there, somebody very quickly was just like, oh, you guys need in? And like the crowds parted. We all got up there and we sat. And I thought, this is perfect. I'm bird's eye view right above the stage. And, you know, again, a very intimate performance and everything that they were doing. And I thought the only thing that was going to ruin this night is if I'm not going to be able to grab a drink. And just at that moment, somebody's tapping me on the shoulder. Is like, "Would you like a beer?" And I'm just, "Yes, please, keep them coming." And, you know,
oh my goodness.
Handed the lady a $20 bill, and she's just like, "Did you want change?" I'm like, "No, just keep coming back. That $20 beer is more than worth it." But fantastic show, fantastic band. Love being there to see them.
Awesome. I remember when they played at the AJ's. Yeah, my cousin was at that show, and he said it was a really, really good one. All right, so we're going to hear the Tea Party, The River, and then we're going to hear some Giant. And I'm going to try and come back after. We'll play this track, and then we'll come back and say goodbye, and then we'll book it. All right, that was The River from the Tea Party. We're going to go finish things off the night with the rest of the tracks you guys brought from your new live album, Breaking Down the Walls, and followed by your show closer, Oblivion.
Yes, I think we've closed almost every show we've ever played with Oblivion.
Oblivion, awesome.
It's such a high that it really
it's a nice energy.
Go, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool. I like it. All right, so we're going to go grab the ferry if it doesn't leave without us. I mean, we're not going to pull a Derek tonight, which is a thing that happens sometimes. And one of the other DJs that used to be volunteers, Derek, he missed the ferry one time, so we call it pulling a Derek.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Breaking Down the Walls. Thanks for coming out, guys.
Thanks
Some Giant. Check them
Thanks
out.
for having us.
Bye, guys.